right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, Chris Bumstead's big announcement. Not really that big of an announcement unless you're a really big fan of Gymshark. So the countdown to the press conference that Chris Bumstead posted, which ended today at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, was a countdown to the announcement that he was now rejoining Gymshark, this time as a partial owner and athlete. So it turned out that the rumor that I heard that I talked about in yesterday's video, that this was a Gymshark announcement, that turned out to be true. And unfortunately, we didn't get any really, big, shell-shocking news. No retirement announcement, no switch to open bodybuilding, nothing super crazy. But I think if you're an aspiring classic physique athlete or fitness influencer or something in the same vein as what Chris Bumstead has been doing, I think you got to look at this and be really inspired by what he's been able to accomplish, not just in terms of his audience and his following, but like these business endeavors that he has, especially with Raw Revive, and now not just being sponsored by a clothing company to wear their clothes, but coming back to that company as a partial owner. I mean, he's making pretty big moves. And it's Chris doing stuff like this business-wise that makes it that much more reasonable in my mind that he would retire after this year's Olympia, especially talking about how stressful it's been on him, especially last year's prep, kind of hinting at a retirement after last year's prep, the health issues that he had. Really, with all these business ventures that go around Chris's brand and everything that Chris has going on, he really, at this point, is bigger than the Olympia. That $50,000 prize money compared to what Chris has going on is nothing, and Chris really just does it for legacy. And I think that that's really paid off for Chris, and I think if you look at the lifespan of Classic Physique as a division, from 2016 to now, it's still relatively very young. And even though, Danny Hester was the first Classic Physique Mr. Olympia, followed by Breon, Chris Bumstead, again, even though Classic Physique is still so young relatively, I think he's already cemented himself as, he's going to go down in history as probably the greatest Classic Physique athlete of all time. Not just based on wins, not just based on his physique, but overall impact on that division and on really the fitness industry as a whole. I think that he's really cemented that legacy. So with all these business ventures, including this Gymshark announcement, it seems very likely that Chris won't continue to compete after this year. And then all those factors that I mentioned earlier, you can add, his family and the fact that he just had a baby on top of all those factors to towards a retirement. But I'm sorry to let you guys down if you were expecting some big earth-shattering Chris Bumstead announcement, but Gymshark, he's a part owner, he's back. His exact words were, "Daddy's home." I also wanted to add on top of that Chris story that gave a little bit more context to the Gymshark thing. He says, "At this stage of my career, I've been fortunate enough to have been offered some very exciting opportunities, but I knew if I was going to be involved in a business again, it had to be with the right people and for the right reasons. When Gymshark talked me through their vision to become the brand that brings the gym to the world, I knew that if I was going to partner with anyone, it had to be them. So I'm happy to say I'm now a part owner of Gymshark, and I'm really excited for the future of the brand and to get to work. Gymshark forever," and then he signs it Chris Bumstead. And speaking of Rafael Brandao, we got an update from him at 5 weeks out, kind of a sneak peek. Certainly looks to have put on a bit of size from the Arnold Classic Brazil. And I think you could make a pretty strong argument. I would say it's probably between Martin Fitzwater and Rafael as far as which bodybuilder was most improved this year from the previous season. Martin's definitely up there, but Rafael at the Arnold Classic Ohio taking a top 3 spot, winning the Arnold Classic Brazil. Noticeable improvements, and those same improvements you can see in this physique update. The size to his legs, I think, is the most impressive thing that Rafael has really transformed. I mean, really impressive added size to the lower body. I mean, look at the width in his lats, the taper that this guy has. I think it's certainly evident that Rafael's goal with this prep, and I guess with this past offseason from the Arnold Classic Brazil to the Olympia, was to put on size because he looks bigger than ever in this update. As far as prep photos go, I don't think I've seen him look bigger in a prep than this. I mean, obviously we've seen the off-season pictures where he was like fully blown out big, but as far as getting close to a show, this is, I think, the biggest we've seen him in a prep at, 5 weeks out. Very impressive, and like I said before, I think he's got a real shot at cracking the top 6 at the Olympia. Now, next up in the news, we got to talk about this Kai Greene guest posing from this past weekend at the Binus Gym Classic. A lot of people talking about this. I think the obvious reason that a lot of people are talking about it was very weird. I mean, he was covered in paint, kind of like a zebra-style pattern. He's also wearing a shower curtain on stage. But I think the other reason a lot of people are talking about this, in addition to it being weird, is the fact that we really haven't seen Kai's physique in quite some time. I can't even remember the last time Kai did like a legit guest posing. And I can't remember the last time Kai posted a recent physique update. And it's kind of crazy to think about that at the time of recording this video, Kai Greene is now 49 years old. He's almost 50. And I think when you watch this guest posing video, for a guy that's 49, he still has a pretty impressive physique. But I think you can certainly tell, even though he's covered in paint, that the Kai Greene of old is gone. You can kind of see his chest looks really flat and kind of just like an atrophied look to his chest. Obviously, he's holding more body fat. His midsection looks a lot thicker. From a size standpoint, though, I mean, you look at his legs, you look at his back, he still seems like he's holding on to a ton of muscle, but certainly not the same Kai Greene we were seeing a couple years ago, where the rumblings were still, will Kai Greene come back? People were still having that conversation because there were pictures of Kai maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I think he was still with Redcon at the time. I don't know if he is now or not. But anyway, there were pictures of him just a few years ago where he was, or at least he said, he was over 300 pounds. He had, pretty deep separated abs. He had deep separations in his legs. He had those crazy signature Kai Greene cross striations in his quads. And he was big. He was holding on to a ton of size. He was pretty lean. He looked like he could jump into a prep for a show at really any given point, but he never did. And I think what we're seeing in this guest posing, certainly not that same Kai Greene, and I think that's kind of the point of the body paint. I think Kai was masking the fact a little bit that maybe he's not as impressive as he once was, which is fine. I mean, the guy's almost 50 years old. He doesn't have to be a 300-pound bodybuilder. I'd rather see him healthy, retired, focusing on business like we talked about with Chris Bumstead. He doesn't have to have an impressive physique because, like I said, I think at this point it's safe to say he's not coming back. He's not doing the Olympia. He's done. So the fact that he's not as impressive as he once was, it's not a big deal. He doesn't have to be. But I think that's why this looked so weird. And I think that was the reason for the shower curtain and all the body paint, because while in the past Kai has had crazy weird costumes, I don't remember a time where he painted his full body. And so I think that was intentional to kind of hide the fact that maybe he looks different now. And maybe just going up there and doing a guest posing with his physique standing on its own wouldn't have been as exciting as this. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think of Kai's current physique? Again, he's almost 50 years old. I think it's safe to say we don't need to speculate anymore whether or not he's going to come back. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Now, next up in the news, Tonio Burton, who was a top 10 finisher at last year's Mr. Olympia, and some considered him to be a factor in the top 10 in this year's Mr. Olympia and their Olympia predictions. He was 8th last year, but Tonio announcing today that he's withdrawing his intention to compete from the Olympia this year. And the reason they cite is to focus on health. They say he's really never had any time off, especially this past season. He's been competing so much and prepping for so many shows. He wants to give his body a rest is basically what it sounds like. It doesn't sound like he has any actual health issues or anything serious like that. It just seems like he's wanting to give his body a rest based on what they said in this short clip. But I think that maybe opens up another spot in the top 10 at the Olympia this year. I don't know if he would have been top 10 again this year, even though he was 8th last year. There's a lot more guys this year that I think are top 10 potential that weren't even there last year. Rafael, Brandao, and Nick Walker are 2 of them. Both of those guys I think would have placed ahead of Tonio this year anyway. So that alone might have pushed Tonio out of the top 10. But Tonio Burton officially announcing he's out today. The final story that I've got for you guys, a physique update from your reigning, defending Mr. Olympia champion, Derek Lunsford. And I like this update because this is kind of, this is Hottie's bread and butter. Typically, when we see a Hottie Chupin physique update, it's the most muscular. That seems to be his favorite pose to hit. I think we see that more than any other pose that he hits throughout his offseason, throughout his prep and his progress pictures. Hottie likes the most muscular because he knows that's a really good shot for him, especially when compared to Derek. I would say one of the biggest criticisms that I saw of Derek after last year's Mr. Olympia was specifically pertaining to this pose, the striations in Derek's chest, or the lack of striations in Derek's chest, relative to the crazy trademark, deep, grainy striations in Hottie's chest. I think the other criticism of Derek is his biceps in the front double bicep, but the chest striation thing has been a pretty big talking point. And to give Derek some props here, at 5 weeks out, you can see some pretty good striations in his chest. His abs look pretty deep. His arms look pretty big. I would still say, some of the updates that we just saw an update of Hottie last week. I would still say Hottie has those crazier chest striations, but I think you are seeing a similar level of detail here from Derek. Just still not quite on the same level as Hottie, but it looks like maybe he's improving that. In the last time that I talked to Hani Rambod, we talked about this specific subject, and he said that really deep separation that Hottie has in his chest is more of a muscle maturity thing. And with Derek, because of his transition from 212 to open, he put on a lot of new muscle really quickly, and it just takes time to, I believe the word he used was season that muscle to get it to the point of a Hottie where it has those really deep separations that really only come with muscle maturity. And Derek just didn't quite have it yet because a lot of that muscle that he put on was so new in that transition to open bodybuilding. So maybe those deep striations are something that will only come with time, and maybe this year is the time that he has them. But overall, I think a very impressive update from your reigning, defending Mr. Olympia champion, Derek Lunsford. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon, all that good stuff. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NICKS&P, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.